Друзья, привет! С вами на связи English Galaxy. Мы с вами продолжаем плейлист по английской грамматике. Обязательно смотрите весь плейлист по грамматике, ссылочки в описании. Также подписывайтесь на наш второй канал English Professionally. Там в ближайшее время будут также подробные курсы только на английском языке про грамматику. И я рад, что вам нравится данный плейлист. Данная тема очень интересная. Это the second conditional, второе условное наклонение. То есть мы изучаем именно те вещи, которые вам помогут владеть английским языком на хорошем, среднем и выше среднего уровня. На самом деле это ключ как раз к таким вот уровням, среднему и выше среднего. Окей. Давай с вами разберем примеры. Но, конечно же, вы поняли, что это предложение с if. Как вы скажете, например, если я плохо себя чувствую, я остаюсь дома. Ну, легко сказать, да? If I feel bad, I stay at home. То здесь, в принципе, видите, все нормально. If I feel bad, I stay at home. То есть мы говорим про present. We talk, то есть we can say we are talking about the present time, о настоящем времени. And we use, и мы используем, in this case, present. Yeah, absolutely right. Present and present in both parts. В обоих частях we use present. You see, I feel bad, it's present simple, and if you look at the second part, I stay at home, it's also present simple. So present, and you talk about present. Okay, how do we name this structure? It's conditional zero, то есть нулевое условное наклонение. Okay. Let me give you the second example or the next example. Окей, если я буду чувствовать себя плохо, я останусь дома. Yeah, and we are talking about the future. Yes, we are talking about the future. And there is a rule that, when you talk about the future, that you have to use, вы должны использовать, you have to use present simple after if. It's a rule. Present simple. Although you talk about the future. Yeah, and if we look at the second part or clause, yeah, so they often say clause instead of part, but it's okay, I mean, for understanding. So if plus present simple and future simple. Okay, so okay, I can, say it this way, but it will be a very common mistake. Have a look, please. Many students, say, or I heard, these kind of sentences. If I mentions, I don't know why, but you see that I often hear it again and again. Yeah, especially, when it's for the first time, but then students understand that's wrong and they don't say it. Okay, so if I will feel bad, I will stay at home. So yeah, and if you don't know this rule, it's strange, because for intermediate level you should know this rule. Yeah, grammatically it's incorrect. Why? Because there is a rule that after if you can't use future simple in this kind of sentences. You see, only present simple. Yeah, you're talking about the future in both clauses or in both parts, and we can't deny this fact. Мы не можем с вами отрицать данный факт. We can't deny this fact. It's obvious. Это очевидно. Anyway, you need just to follow the rules. Тебе нужно придерживаться правил. You need to follow the rules which exist, которые существуют in English, which exist in English, которые существуют в английском, or which exist in English grammar, So please keep this rule in your mind. Keep this rule in your memory. Держи это правило в своем уме. Keep this rule in your, pamять in memory, and it will help you again and again. It will help you. What will it help you? It will help you avoid lots of mistakes, lots of common mistakes, and lots of unnecessary mistakes. Yeah, I would say unnecessary mistakes which you don't need, So, and really, I think that if you can speak English without mistakes, why not? So really, let's do it. Let's speak English fluently, so when we can speak English quite fast without any problems and correctly. So yeah, I think that's right. So okay, so if I feel bad, it's incorrect, really, it's terrible, mistake. So yeah, and let's be smarter. So let's correct it. Yeah, so, and we have to use present simple. If I feel bad, I will stay at home. If I feel bad, I will stay at home. Okay, you see, let's translate it from English into Russian. Если я буду чувствовать себя плохо, я останусь дома. I will stay at home. And you may have this kind of question. Возможно, у вас следующий вопрос. How can I understand? We will look at these sentences. Yes, it's the first one. If I feel bad, I stay at home. And the second one, if I feel bad, I will stay at home. So, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the present or future? How can we understand what tense are you talking about? О каком времени ты говоришь? It's easy. It's quite easy. Тебе нужно просто, just need to look at the second clause, на вторую часть of the second part. So, if it's future simple, если это future simple, it's obvious, это очевидно, that it also means future. So if I feel bad, I will stay at home. But you know that many things actually, в действительности, many things come from experience. Множество вещей приходят из опыта. You just need more practice. But these things are mostly for elementary level. Yeah, surprising as it may seem. Удивительно, как это может показаться, surprising as it may seem, but it isn't so difficult. These things are mostly for, elementary level. Yeah. So, and it's called, this structure is called conditional zero. And the second structure, when you talk about the future, it's called the first conditional. Actually, it's quite easy. You just need to know, how to form present simple and future simple. Really, it isn't so difficult. And this rule that if you have to use a present simple, that's it. Nothing difficult, actually, nothing difficult. Okay, let's revise it, and we'll make sure that everything is correct. Yeah, so you know that we're doing it for two reasons. The first reason is, revision, and the second reason is, that we want to check everything, to make sure, it means введите, to make sure that everything is okay, that everything is alright. Okay, let's do it. I really like revision. Okay, so conditional zero, present. If I feel bad, I stay at home. Yeah, and the first conditional future. So we are talking about future, and we use actually. We are talking about future, right? Really, let's correct it, and we have to use present simple, and future simple. Present simple and future simple. Yeah, and you can see the structure if plus present simple, and then we use future simple. Okay, that's all right. I think that you know a lot about it, but we can, have the opposite order. Мы можем иметь противоположный порядок. For example, we can say I will stay at home if I feel bad. It's okay too. I will stay at home if I feel bad. So there is no difference. Just, we mostly say it without a comma, без запятой. So yeah, if you have this structure with if, in the beginning or at the beginning of the sentence. You know the difference between in the beginning and at the beginning. Just in the beginning, just в начале, but at the beginning of something. And I can say that if we have if at the beginning of the sentence we put a comma, мы ставим запятую. If you have it, you know, if you don't have in the beginning, you don't have to use a comma. Нет такой необходимости. Okay, so that's easy, and I hope that you knew it pretty well, and maybe there was no need for revision. Okay, so but let's talk about 30 examples with the second conditional, and I think really it's a very interesting topic for our discussion. Let's do it, really, let's do it, why not? Okay. И, к примеру, я хочу сказать, что если бы я был бы миллионером, я мог бы купить много вещей. Давайте с вами скажем, если я был бы миллионером, я мог бы купить много вещей. Значит, здесь, опять же, мы говорим, we talk about present. Мы говорим о present, но unreal, но нереально. Соответственно, я не миллионер. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm just a billionaire. Я всего лишь миллиардер. No, it's a joke. It's a joke. I'm not a millionaire. Yeah, I'm not a millionaire. Okay, я не миллионер. Yeah. And, соответственно, если бы я был бы миллионером, so if we talk about present and real, we use the structure if plus past simple. And in the next part, we use would plus verb or could plus verb, and we call it the second conditional. И мы это говорим, and мы называем это второе условное наклонение, and we call it the second conditional. So really, let's translate the sentences. If I, but there is one more important thing. That that with this conditional, I mean with this the second conditional, we mostly use were. So yes, if I were a millionaire, я бы купил. Would means бы. I would buy many things. Много вещей. I would buy many things or many interesting things. Много интересных вещей. Many interesting things. Yeah. So really, we mostly use words after, with I, he, she, it, we, you, they, and so on. Sometimes you can see, or you can meet if I was, but it sounds more formal. It's mostly in formal context. Это в основном более формальном контексте. So just were. Yeah, it's past simple of be. It's past simple of be. Okay, so next. Alright, so let's go on. Let's продолжать. So if I were a millionaire, I would buy many interesting things. I would buy many interesting things. Okay, или если бы я был бы миллионером, я мог бы купить. Я мог бы купить это could. If I were a millionaire, I could buy. Я мог бы купить. I could buy many interesting things. Okay, so do you like dreaming? Do you like dreaming? Do you like dreaming? Вам нравится мечтать? Do you like dreaming? Do you often imagine something? Do you often imagine something? Do you often imagine something? Вы часто что-то воображаете? Do you often imagine something? If so, this rule is for you. Если так, это правило для тебя. This rule is for you. This rule is for you. Okay, so really, it's the second conditional. So present but unreal. If plus past simple and would or could in the second part of the sentence plus verb. So I'm not a millionaire, and I can say that if I were a millionaire, so it's just in my imagination. It's in my imagination, but I'm not a millionaire. I would buy many interesting things. Or if I were a millionaire, I could buy many interesting things. So do you like dreaming? Do you often imagine something? If so, this rule is for you. Okay, next. So, how could you continue this sentence? Really, what would you do What would you do? What would you do if you were a millionaire? What would you do if you were a millionaire? Ну, что бы вы делали, если бы вы были бы миллионером? Ну, предположим, что вы не миллионер, да? Ну, может, кто-то и миллионер, но давайте для общего случая. What would you do if you were a millionaire? And I think that you can write your own examples. Вы можете написать ваши собственные примеры. If I were a millionaire, если бы я был бы миллионером, я бы купил бы, я бы купил остров. I would buy an island. I would buy an island. Island. Yeah, please. You know that we spell it, мы с вами это пишем по буквам I-S-L-A-N-D, but we don't pronounce S. S isn't pronounced. We don't pronounce S. I would buy an island. Okay, so what is next? Or what other things? What other things can you say? So if I were a millionaire, I would buy, я бы купил бы, I would buy a house in the center of New York, for example. I would buy a flat. I would buy a flat in the center of, so you can write it this way or this way. It's also correct. It's, you know, it depends. So British or American English. Okay, it's okay. I would buy a flat in the center of the city. Or I would buy a spacious flat. Spacious means просторная квартира. I would buy a spacious flat in the center of the city. Okay, so next. If I were a millionaire, если бы я был бы миллионером, I would work, я бы работал очень мало. I would work very little. Or you can say, for example, if I were a millionaire, я бы вовсе не работал. I wouldn't work. I wouldn't work at all. I wouldn't work at all. If I were a millionaire, I wouldn't work at all. Okay, let's say one sentence with code. So, if I were a millionaire, я мог бы помочь очень многим людям. I could help lots of people. I could help lots of people. Okay, so what would you do if you were a millionaire? Really, what would you do if you were a millionaire? It's very interesting. Yeah, so if I were a millionaire, I would buy an island. If I were a millionaire, I would buy a spacious flat in the center of the city. If I were a millionaire, I would work very little. If I were a millionaire, I wouldn't work at all. If I were a millionaire, I could help lots of people. Okay, let's look at other examples. So, you know that I live in Russia. Что я живу в России, it isn't a secret, это не секрет, I live in Russia, and actually I live and work in Moscow. Работаю в Москве. And I can say, for example, the following. Если бы я жил бы в Америке, опять же, you see that it isn't real, это нереально. If I lived in America, то есть если сейчас бы я жил бы в Америке, моя жизнь была бы другой. My life would be different. My life would be different. Okay, so if I lived in America, my life would be different. Okay, so the next example. For example, если бы у меня была бы очень большая семья, но у меня, допустим, маленькая семья, I have a small family, and I can say, if I had a very large family, I would be happy. I would be happy. Я был бы счастлив. If I had a very large family, I would be happy. But I have a small family. Okay, so, or for example, если бы у меня был бы брат, if I had a brother, это было бы замечательно. Там, it would be great. It would be great. It would be great. Okay, so What other things can we mention? Какие другие вещи можно сказать? Например, если бы я знал бы японский язык, but I don't know it, so if I knew Japanese, я бы преподавал его. I would teach it. I would teach it. If I knew Japanese, I would teach it. If I knew Japanese, I would teach it. Okay, next. So, for example, если бы я знал бы, если я знал бы китайский, if I knew Chinese, если я знал бы китайский, значит, не знаю, мои бы, не знаю, там, знакомые, мои бы друзья гордились мной. My friends would be proud of me. You know, this language is very difficult. Okay, next. Например, you can say, чтобы, если бы я говорил по-английски свободно, if I knew, or if I spoke, если бы я говорил бы if I spoke English fluently, or if my English level, если мой уровень английского языка, if my English level был бы очень высоким, was very high, я мог бы, I could read English books, я мог бы читать книжки по английскому языку in the original, в оригинале. I could read English books in the original. I could read English books in the original. Okay, so really, if I lived in America, my life would be different. Дальше у нас будет сложнее примеры. So, if I had a very large family, I would be happy. If I had a brother, it would be great. If I knew Japanese, I would teach it. If I knew Chinese, my friends would be proud of me. If my English level was very high, I could read English books in the original. Okay, so если бы у меня был бы, если у меня была бы очень дорогая машина, if I had a very expensive car, мои друзья бы мне завидовали. My friends would envy me. Or люди, people would envy me. Люди бы завидовали мне. People would envy me. So if I had a very expensive car, people would envy me. For example. Okay, so the next example. Если бы я не работал, if I didn't work, у меня не было денег, I would have no money. If I didn't work, I would have no money. Next. Если бы я не преподавал бы английский язык, if I didn't teach English, вы бы не смотрели такого рода видео. You wouldn't watch these kind of videos. If I didn't teach English, you wouldn't watch these kind of videos. Next. Если бы не было бы English Galaxy, if there was no English Galaxy, вы бы учили английский, используя другие методы. You would learn English using other methods. But we know that, talking about the second conditional, говоря о втором словном наклонении, we can use was or were. So were is also okay. So if there were no English Galaxy, but was sounds more formal. Was звучит более формально. So, but were is okay too. So if there were no English Galaxy, you would learn English using other methods. Okay, so we have, if I had a very expensive car, people would envy me. If I didn't work, I would have no money. If I didn't teach English, you wouldn't watch these kind of videos. If there was no English Galaxy, you would learn English using other methods. Okay, so next. So let's ask some questions. For example, что бы ты сделал, если ты был на моем месте? What would you do? What would you do? What would you do if you were in my place? What would you do if you were in my place? Что бы ты сделал? What would you do if you were in my place? Or we can also ask, what would you do? What would you do? Что бы ты сделал if you were me? Если ты был бы я. То есть такая фраза на самом деле, если бы я был бы на твоем месте. So it's if I were you. If I were you. Да, вот такая фраза стоящая, если бы я был на твоем месте. For example, if I were you, там я бы изучал английский каждый день. I would learn English. I would learn English every day. I would learn English every day. If I were you, I would learn English every day. Or if I were you, если бы я был бы на твоем месте. If I were you, I would... я ходил бы в зал часто. I would go to the gym regularly. I would go to the gym regularly. Or if I were you, если бы был на твоем месте, я смотрел бы такого рода видео снова и снова. If I were you, I would watch this kind of videos again and again. So this method is very effective. Again and again. Or, for example, you can give me some advice. Вы можете дать мне небольшой совет. If I were you, если бы был на твоем месте, я бы загружал бы более длинные курсы. I would upload longer courses. I would upload longer courses. Я бы загружал бы более длинные курсы. Okay, so we have what would you do if you were in my place? What would you do if you were me? If I were you, I would learn English every day. If I were you, I would go to the gym regularly. If I were you, I would watch this kind of videos again and again. If I were you, I would upload longer courses. Why not? Who knows? Okay, next. So 25. For example, if I were you, например, вы бы загружали более короткие курсы. If I were you, I would upload shorter courses. I would upload shorter courses. Or, если бы английский был бы сложным, if English, быть это be, значит, if English was difficult, but we know this rule that we can use was or were. In the second conditional, we can also say if English were difficult. Люди не учили бы его так быстро. People wouldn't learn it so fast. People wouldn't learn it so fast. Or if English was difficult or were difficult. So, okay, let's use were. If English were difficult, он бы не был самым популярным языком в мире. It wouldn't be the most popular language in the world. It wouldn't be the most popular language in the world. Okay, one more example. Например, you can say, если мой английский был бы без ошибок, if my English, быть это be, опять же, if my English was or were, if my English were without mistakes, я был бы очень счастлив, я был бы реально счастлив. I would be really happy. And one more example. Если бы я был бы на твоем месте, if I were you, я бы сделал то же самое. I would do the same. If I were you, I would do the same. So, if I were you, I would upload shorter courses. If English was difficult or if English were difficult, people wouldn't learn it so fast. If English were difficult, it wouldn't be the most popular language in the world. If my English were without mistakes, I would be really happy. If I were you, I would do the same, or I would do the same thing. Yeah, and 30, last but not least, for example, you're not an English teacher and you can say, if I were an English teacher, if I were an English teacher, if I were an English teacher, I would help lots of students. I would help lots of students. Lots of students. Help lots of students. What? Learn English. Learn English. So you can say to learn or learn English. Они бы знали английский прекрасно. They would know. They would know English. They would know English perfectly. They would know English perfectly. Really, if I were an English teacher, I would help lots of students learn English. They would know English perfectly. Okay, let's revise everything. It's very important for our progress and for our listening skills. And as I remember, yeah. Okay, so let's revise. Let's revise everything. Okay. Okay, so zero conditional. So we talk about present and present simple and present simple. We have present simple and present simple in both parts. For example, if I feel bad, I stay at home. So yeah, the first conditional, let's look at the first conditional. We talk about future and we use present simple and future simple, and we have to use present simple after if. So the structure is the following: if plus present simple and future simple. For example, if I feel bad, I will stay at home. Or we can use if in the middle. If I will stay at home, or I will stay at home if I feel bad. Next, the second conditional, we use it for present but unreal. So let's look at the structure. If plus past simple, and then we use would or could plus verb. I am not a millionaire. If I were a millionaire, I would buy many interesting things. Or if I were a millionaire, I could buy many interesting things. Do you like dreaming? Do you often imagine something? If so, this rule is for you. What would you do if you were a millionaire? If I were a millionaire, I would buy an island. If I were a millionaire, I would buy a spacious flat in the center of the city. If I were a millionaire, I would work very little. If I were a millionaire, I wouldn't work at all. If I were a millionaire, I could help lots of people. If I lived in America, my life would be different. If I had a very large family, I would be happy. If I had a brother, it would be great. If I knew Japanese, I would teach it. If I knew Chinese, my friends would be proud of me. If my English level was very high, or we can also say if my English were very high, because we can use was or were with if in the second conditional. So if my English level were very high, I could read English books in the original. If I had a very expensive car, people would envy me. If I didn't work, I would have no money. If I didn't teach English, you wouldn't watch this kind of videos. If there was no English Galaxy, or if there were no English Galaxy, you would learn English using other methods. What would you do if you were in my place? What would you do if you were me? If I were you, I would learn English every day. If I were you, I would go to the gym regularly. If I were you, I would watch these kind of videos again and again. If I were you, I would upload longer courses. Why not? Maybe you think it's a good idea. If I were you, I would upload shorter courses. If English was difficult, or if English were difficult, people wouldn't learn it so fast. Okay, if English were difficult, it wouldn't be the most popular language in the world. If my English were without mistakes, I would be really happy. If I were you, I would do the same. Yeah, but it is, for English learners. For English learners. Okay, for people who learn English. And the last example. So we have if I were you. Why if I were you? If I were an English teacher, I would help lots of students learn English. They would know English perfectly. Why not? Who knows? And I hope that you need English and you're making good progress. Okay, thanks a lot. See you. Bye.